Yvonne Blanchard.
Yes, I.
John Brown.
Here.
Joe Sabella.
Here.
Richard Smith.
Here.
Allison Moreland. I'm Rosemary Costello. And we are missing Paul Strempel, I think is the only one absent today. So I wanted to do two things. Since we have a public meeting and a public hearing today, I wanted to go through what the difference is between a public meeting and a public hearing for the purposes of the Historic District Commission. Last week I mentioned that under Chapter 40C, we hear applications for certificates of appropriateness, for certificates of noncompliance, and certificates of hardship. We review those applications at a public meeting, and that is posted with no less than 48 hours. At that public meeting, we determine whether the proposed project has significant impact on the historic district or there's significant interest among the community, and then we vote on whether to hold a public hearing. So that's what we did for 22 Union last May. Per Section 11 of Chapter 40C, if we waive the public hearing, then the abutters are given notice, and then 10 days after that, the project can proceed according to whatever our deliberation was. So if we have a public hearing, if we vote to have a public hearing, then we have to post notice 14 days in advance. And that notice is posted in Town Hall and in the Cricket. And again, the abutters are given notice. So that's what's happened for 22 Union. We have two items on the agenda today that are not public hearing items. So we're going to hear those first, get them out of the way, then go back to public hearing. Does that make sense? Everybody on board with that? I guess since you are here, Mr. Pardon for Mr. forgetting your name. Wolf, thank you, at 17 North Street. We'll hear you guys first. And I can pull up this if I share my screen. Is that doing it? No, why isn't it? Do you have your left?
No, I don't. I have given out handouts that we don't put up on the screen.
Okay.
Do a pretty good description.
Once. Oh, wait. There we go. Okay. Okay, Mr. Harden.
Thank you. John Harden here tonight from Wilson Lewis Architects on behalf of Wolf, our clients. As you might recall, we were here last month and reviewed several aspects of this project, several of which were approved in that meeting, but we were asked to come back with really two areas of focus. One of which was more detail on a proposed window at the rear of the house. Good news, that has been withdrawn. There's no longer a need nor a desire to do that window at the back of the house, so there's no change for that at all. And then we're also asked to come back and give you some more detail on the new entry that is being proposed, as you might recall, on the piece that is really connecting the old historic portion of the house and the newer addition to the right. So our image before had shown a perspective view of the property, as you might recall, in which the home is, the vestibule is removed from the existing front entry, and the house is essentially painted, made beautiful again, what is broken and not in good shape fixed, and that was all received very well. So tonight we're just here to talk about that portion over on at the connector piece with the new roof that's going over what is a new door. So on the second sheet, if you wouldn't mind going to the next slide. I think this is pretty simple, but we're showing a enlarged elevation of half of that roof. The other half, of course, is symmetrical, so we're getting all the information that we need here. Keeping it as simple as we can. It's about a 1'5" or full extension of about 2 feet. This is mostly just to provide a place as you're getting the keys out of your pocket and if it's raining, but also to mark entry so that it's a bit more obvious and appropriate for the home. As you might recall, we did propose sort of an elegant, rather subtle arch that would be beneath the new proposed roof. And that arch is then supported by a couple of pretty subtle but nicely proportioned brackets that would partially support that roof edge, but also just be a nice transition from the roof down to the sides of the door, both left and right. So we've provided a section. There are a few details also worth noting there, that the underside of that arch that we're proposing will be V-groove and painted. All of the other trim presented and shown here, pretty simple, just to match what is already existing on the home, so that we're really taking those cues from the character of the historic part of the house. I think that's largely it. Would entertain any questions you might have.
So, John, see, we don't have a plan, but if this door comes out a foot, is that, do I understand that?
Not the door, just the roof. The roof itself
The roof.
projects.
So, is that that's a pitched roof back there, so is this essentially a small dormer?
You got it, exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Any materials?
The only one really that we're noting here of merit is the asphalt shingles. That's really to match the what's existing on the house in every other area. Besides that, this is all real wood. It's all painted. It's all to match the existing detail that's on the house.
What are you doing about steps?
So we're pretty much at grade here. The grade will slope up. If anything, if there's a transition for a step, Bob, we haven't talked about this, but we often just use a piece of stone.
I'm just looking at that, comparing that to the front of the house, which well, you're taking it down. I mean, it's a wooden stoop, I guess.
Yep.
That's disappearing, and you're putting just moving that stoop because you're getting rid of that vestibule and moving the stoop back, and that is wooden.
Bob, have you guys discussed that? The new steps?
We have looked under the
They might
current
be
vestibule.
hidden.
Yeah.
And my impression is that the granite slabs, I think there are two, one on top of another, that originally provided access to the building are still there.
I'm surprised.
It wouldn't surprise me if they could remain, because we're still keeping that doorway. And we can probably get 2 more slabs of granite or curbing and use that as steps to this new entrance.
All right, I'm interested in having the steps more or less in sync with each other.
Sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so you're expecting to go back to the original granite
Yes, sir.
that you've got there. Maybe you'll have to add another, I don't know. Maybe if as it stands, it's good for entry.
Yes, sir.
Do the same thing.
And there's no plan to put railings in on the steps?
Pardon?
There's no plan to put railings in on the steps?
Not on the steps, no.
So that's a 2-step. I think the code is 3 steps or more, you need a railing.
Exactly.
Right.
Correct.
So, yeah, it's not too far away from the entryway. Okay,
But they do have the railing that's gonna go along the pathway.
Yeah,
That's just not
on the outside.
pictured. Anybody else?
good.
Okay, do we have a motion of any kind?
I'll make a motion to approve the graphics for that entryway as presented with granite steps.
You have to wait public hearing on that.
That was
We
at the
did that at the first time.
So that's already done.
Yeah, that was done.
Okay, so
Second John's motion.
Allison seconds, all in favor, Yvonne, John,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Yes.
Richard? Yes. Allison and I am also in favor, so thank you, Mr. Wolf, John. So the process is the abutters get a notice that this is your project, that it's been conditionally approved. After that, you will get the building permit from the building inspector.
I was told by a neighbor across the street that they had already received those. I'm not
Probably
sure when.
for the other parts that were approved.
Okay, thank you.
I'll get another one.
Yes, I'll get another one.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks so
Okay,
much.
thank you, John.
Completely notified. They'll be completely notified.
Completely notified. Okay, so we also had an application from Logue for a new sign since they had moved down the street a little bit to 19th Central. Do you have anybody on Zoom from Logue? The Logue family. Yes, I see Gail, you've raised your hand.
We received an email from them indicating that they were at some athletic event until maybe 7 or a little later.
Oh, I thought Katie
I'm
was
not-
gonna join us.
Yeah, well, apparently she's also at the event.
Okay.
I thought.
Okay. All right, I mean, I think we could just review it based on what we've been given. Does anybody have any objection, or do we want to wait and see if they show up?
Could conditionally approve it, couldn't we? I mean, it's such a simple thing.
Yeah, so are we all familiar with the location across the street?
No.
There's the hair salon, and then Logue is to the right. It says here it's 24 by 21. It's going on the existing pole.
It's going on the existing board?
There's a pole already there from the former tenant,
Oh,
Sal
I see.
Snoop had
Not
it.
the same pole as the salon, but
No,
I didn't notice it.
there's
Okay.
a pole, the Style Snoop sign moved with them. So it will mimic the sign as the other tenants next door. It will be placed on the current post that held the sign as the previous tenant. The sign will be black with gold leaf lettering, 24 by 21. Okay, so I guess the only issue is materials? What does it say on this
What
here?
about font? The font
This is the font.
you keep in, is it serif font? What type of, I don't know if it says in the description what type of font it is.
Move this, turn it sideways.
Yeah, it is serif, what it is.
Doesn't say on this what it is.
I'm guessing they use two different types of font though. The first one is serif, the second one, I'm not sure what.
Sans serif,
Yeah.
and the kerning is kind of insurance.
Rosemary, do you remember approving the Salon Street sign? The salon
No,
sign?
I don't.
I don't either.
When did they? But that might have been before me. When did they move in there?
Road sign.
Well, we have some of those. Boo Bird's a
I
road
can't
sign.
remember. And I've been around a long time.
I don't think we were there.
And so have you.
Yeah,
But I don't know how long the salon has been there.
anyway, if it looks just like the one that's there, I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Gail, I see you've raised your hand.
I'm putting my hand down, sorry.
Oh, okay.
You see, it's carved, so I'm assuming it's wood.
Well, it could easily be PVC.
Yeah.
You think
these
they
are-
we
just
wouldn't be
say
able-
it's carved? Yeah, okay.
a lot
I
of
wouldn't be
signs.
surprised, I'd be kind of surprised if it was wood.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'm surprised it doesn't say.
It's got nothing about estimate about performance of
No.
materials.
The sign looks identical to the salon one.
Yeah, I think
Versus
that was
what
their
Styles
intention.
would.
But since we didn't
It's
approve that,
identical.
Yeah. For the new standard bearer.
All right, do
Doesn't
we
get
have,
us too far.
do we have any kind of, do we want to make a motion on a public hearing?
Yeah, we can do that.
Let's start with that.
sure, I'll move that we waive public hearing.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Yvonne? Yay? John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Richard, yes.
Yes.
Allison, okay. I also say we will waive the public hearing. Okay, so then, do we want to put a pin in it until they show up, or do we want to just conditionally approve it? What would be our conditions?
Go ahead and do that. Just,
Just wait?
yeah, I mean, they might show up.
Okay, so we'll just wait and see if they come.
I would like confirmation on the material.
Okay,
It's really all.
then that's what we'll do. Okay. Okay, stop share. Now, we're going to continue the public hearing from last week. Do I need to declare that open?
You just, I guess we need to reopen the public hearing. This is still a public hearing that's continued, yes.
So do I need a motion to reopen the public hearing?
I'll make the motion to reopen the public hearing.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, yes, yes, yes. All right, we're all in favor. Now, Chris Vance, can I make you the co-host? Do I have to make? Yes. There we go. How about that? We're now the co-host. So I guess the first thing I would say is if you'd like to address any of the comments from the public, you can do that. And I got one comment which I think I failed to share. Sorry, I will share that from Jack. Can't remember anyone's name anymore. CPC Chair,
Burke.
who was in favor.
Burke,
Jack Burke. I can share that email
thank you.
in favor of your design, so I will share that with you and the rest of the commission. But that was the only other public comment I got. So if you'd like to start.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can make you bigger.
He is co-host.
Yep, I know, I'm trying to see if I can make this picture bigger. I'll do that. Spotlight for everyone. There we go. Just learning something new every day.
Okay, great. Chris Vance, Portman Development, here representing Community Industry LLC. We had met last week. I can hand out a new packet here that has some additional sheets towards the rear, which addresses some of the comments and requests from the board. So I'm going to skip over the first few sheets that we had originally showed last week and address the requests that were presented by the board. I feel like most of the public questions were addressed during last week's meeting, so I don't know if I have any additional comments at that moment, but if something comes up, address it. Also, I think some of the details about the show will also address those concerns. So if we want to go to sheet 7, which is showing up here. So this shows the front elevation from Union Street. And I think last time there was a concern about distinguishing between what was panel, glazing, sort of depth. So what we've done in this rendering here is to help illustrate what is glazing versus clapboard painted panels by adding some color to the glass. So I think that helps read a little bit. We've also included the elevation, the west elevation. So this is looking from 18 Union Street. So this would be the drive access elevation. So as you turn the corner, going off to the parking area in the rear. So you can see, and I'll address the materials a little bit here. This would be that elevation as you turn the west elevation. So we've put some dormers up on the half story. Here you can see the balcony that's up on the second story. So there's that recess, which sort of disintegrates that corner of the building. And then we have some windows here, double hung. We've switched before. We had the 2/1. Now we have 2/2, which was a comment that was made by the board last time that was more appropriate to the time period. We also changed the shed roof on the dormers to a gable, which you can see here, which again was a comment that was made by the public and by the board. And you can see that we've turned the paneling here on the west elevation, the foundation, which is switched now to a brick foundation. You'll see that on the site plan, we've added a low granite wall along the sidewalk to distinguish between sort of public-private realm. So that now we've carried that brick at the foundation, which is sort of a nod to so this next sheet on 9 here are a couple of perspectives. So 2 vantage points. One on the left is looking from that west elevation from the corner of the drive that accesses the parking, looking up Union towards Beach Street. So again, here you can see that the sort of undulation in the facade, which I think was a concern from a couple of members and from the public, that they didn't really understand how the facade was working and how it sort of stepped back. The inclusion of outdoor spaces. So here on the box bay, there's outdoor space on the upper half-story level. Here on the second story, this steps back, and so there's an outdoor balcony. And then here again is that sort of public realm storefront retail facade. And then on the right side is the elevation looking down Union from the corner of Beach and Union. So again, here you can start to see how the 2 volumes read separately, even though it's one large building. But it reads as 2 separate units, which I think was a little bit last time. Again, this is the same slide we had showing a mix of materials. I did switch out a couple of the materials like I had mentioned. Here we are showing the Grand Manor asphalt shingle by Certainty. They do have comic sheets I can either bring up or pass around. I don't know if the board would be interested in seeing that, but this is a slate-like look asphalt shingle that Certainty offers. What we're proposing for the roof. Also updated the image of the window, which now shows the 2/2, which is the Pella Lifestyle window. Lots of information on that as well that I can pass around. And again, we are still proposing to use the Hardie fiber cement siding, which I have a sample here to pass around. And we'll still have the MDO and AZAC trim for the panel lower level at the bottom. And we'll have a brick foundation wall now, which I've updated here. Not a full brick, but here are a couple of wall sections, just showing you the separation of spaces and how the building is working, how it's stepping back and undulating as you work from the first floor to the second half story. Calling out different materials here, which I have some blown up details that I can get into a little bit further. So here on sheet 12, showing the details for the column. So we're proposing a fiberglass square chamfered column, which is which I have information here on. That's been updated. And then for the boxed bay, we are showing the AZAC trim that does have the MDO panel behind it with a bed molding, which would be another AZAC bed molding. We'll have the double hung colored lifestyle windows with the SDLs, and they're 2/2. And as you work up, similar details with the AZAC trim, the bed molding, MDO panel. The freeze board is a 1x16 freeze board AZAC with dentals that are applied to the freeze board. And then here showing the soffit up at the mansard roof level. So you have gutter, rake board, freeze, and dental. Again, they're all sort of spelled out sizes. Again, all those AZAC material. All of it would be painted. The reason that we use this material is just for longevity, lifespan. It's easy to maintain, and will keep the building looking. Next sheet here shows, again, some blow-ups of the dormer. So here's the gabled dormer. Using a AZAC historic sill. Again, the lifestyle double hung 2/2 window. Again, AZAC freeze and trim boards. And that would have the Certainty Grand Manor asphalt shingle roof on it. Typical window trim casing, 1x5 casing with an AZAC backband, historic sill. Then here's a blow up of looking at the unit entry. So again, the same makeup, the MDO panel painted with the AZAC bed molding, AZAC trim. Go through all the dimensions. All that up drawing. Full glass door here for the unit entry door with a transom window above. And to the right of that is a fixed window with an awning above that. To the left, space for some signage and an entry light. And we broke up the sign there. Interest. Here we'd have a precast sill that's sitting on top of the thin brick here, the foundation, and there'd be a granite step. Unit. That goes through the additional sheets and details, which I think hopefully addressed the questions and concerns that were brought up last time. Happy to take questions.
Thank you. It's a lot of information.
It is.
Yeah, it was a short period of time.
I appreciate that.
So you have brick in the bottom of the facade, just the bottom?
Yeah, oh yeah, just the bottom. I didn't explain here in these perspectives, you can see that we're introducing a low granite wall, which is a continuation from 18 Union Street that separates the public and private realm.
Right.
And what about the arch on the other side of that granite wall, the low granite wall? What material is that
Yeah, this would be a,
in the far
right
right,
here, yeah, that would be out of wood.
including the fencing next to it, or is that?
Yes, yeah, yeah, base, and that's an entry to a little private side yard.
Oh, seems like everything goes up right away. That's more or less flat behind that
Yeah,
little arch.
that's accurate. Yeah, there'll be.
That's the old building elevation.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, but
forward.
the elevation on the left side of the building is not the same as the elevation on the right. It's-
Yeah, so if you look at this image here. So this white bar you see is on the.
I guess it would be flat because the cargo building is there right now. They had to dig that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, exactly. So
Retaining
the,
wall behind.
yeah, so
Yeah.
the rear wall of the cargo building now is the retaining wall for that little private.
So it's a little private area, and then you've got a very big wall.
Yeah, and then we're proposing to leave the existing brick frame wall.
I don't know, nobody knows what's there. You know what's there?
Yeah, we've ripped it apart, it's all brick.
Okay.
So, they're actually two independent structures from each other, they're not actually tied in together. Gladstone is one.
Which one was built first?
So, yeah, it
We
was
just
Cargo
actually,
in
1950 was Gladstone, 1940 was Cargo.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they probably just infilled on that wall.
So is the intention then to leave the existing pier with, on the street side, what's there now, just kind of slice it and use it as a remnant?
Yeah, you'll see the existing brick wall, so from you're standing here, looking through the little trellis, you'd see the brick wall of the cargo building.
I may answer my question. So as we look at the left side of the building going up the driveway, that's all going to be brick in the air,
That is here, yep.
all the way up to the, and this cementitious lap wall, do you think we use a smooth finish, or is it that rough raised?
I like the smooth, but
That stuff is a pet peeve of mine, because it looks
Texture.
like we're deliberately putting up wood that hasn't been cared for. So you're planning on it being smooth and not
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
And will that be 4 inches in the weather?
the exposure, I believe it comes 5 inches,
5 inches?
5 and 7. But we go with the 5 inch.
I'm curious about the dentals. I mean, normally you would expect to see a little ornamentation on that, but I'm thinking on the drawing here that this is just a rectangular plot. It's a little, it seems a little out of character with the rest of the detail on the building.
Do you have any suggestion?
Well, there's lots of, actually, these pictures are excellent, like, suggestions. Look at them. Maybe some softening of that detail. You've got, that frieze is 12 inches or 16? 16? Yeah, I mean,
Oh, so, yes, the historic photos that you show, they're definitely more detailed, sort of bracket-looking dentals than just a straight block.
I think, to my eye, you look at these dentals on the more traditional building, and you get the sense that it's there for a purpose, even though in fact it isn't. It isn't really supported, but it looks like it is. These look,
Yeah, those are more like brackets versus a dental.
Yeah.
Dental is much more less ornate, and they don't serve as supporting.
no, I understand that, but they have that, feel. They have a different feel.
In the freeze, you're saying.
This looks much more modern. There are things about the building you can't get away from that pull it into the modern era. I understand that. There are things about it that say, I'm not an historic building. We understand that. I think that's just something that is positives to that too. But that would be my comment. I'm let's see.
Do you prefer like this far left one with like a little bit of a kind of a angle to it?
Yeah, I think
Sort of
any
as streamlined as it gets
anything
without
to
being
soften
blocked?
that. Yeah, anything to soften that and make it look a little more traditional.
Right now, they're only 3/4 of an inch thick. And
3/4.
I mean, it's a one by, it's literally, they're only sticking off the freeze by
Yikes.
3/4 of an inch. I mean, there's a shadow line there, make it look like it's a little more robust, but maybe it could be a compound or some other.
Yeah, so
something a
that's,
little more beefy than just a.
Yeah, we could do like 6/4.
yeah, you'd expect it to be 2, 2.5, maybe even 3.
We granted, how deep is your, it's only 6-inch overhang at the top, what's right above it?
Yeah, how deep is that soffit?
Well, it's a compound soffit, so you kind of,
Yeah, so it's built out, so it's coming off.
yeah, it's two steps.
Oh, it's very shallow, isn't it?
16 high, 1 wide, and how deep?
Well, they're 3 inches wide, but it's a one by piece that's cut down, so it's 3/4 inches thick, about 60 inches tall, and like 3 inches wide.
Yeah, so as we look at the soffit, either the balcony on the 3rd floor, is that only a few inches? Yeah, like,
What page are you looking
I'm looking at the section on 11.
at?
Oh, it's cross section.
Yeah, there's the dental luck defined as 1 by 10. 1 by 10.
Yeah, that's lower. That's about 3rd floor, yeah. Yeah, that would continue on. That should say 1 by 16. That 3/4 continues.
So, as I look at the drawing on 9, it looks like a much beefier soffit and overhang coming up than it does in the section. Maybe I'm just not understanding it. But as I look at the section, it looks like it's much flatter. And if those dentals are only, how deep did you say they are?
3/4 inch.
3/4, so they're really just,
They're a hint of a dental. They're a veneer of a dental. Dental veneer.
yeah. I heard of dental veneer.
Yeah, in a different context.
I think this is what I was getting at when I was concerned about the detail, because it's appealing to think that we have a building that has the feel of a period building. I think it's a nice, but I'm worried that in trying to be as ornate as you have been forced to compromise on what the actual detail offers us. It's just,
Well,
it hints at what it is, but it isn't.
yeah,
what
if
it
you
is.
go back to the actual Second Empire design inspiration, those are much deeper roof lines. So there isn't really the opportunity to put a deeper dental block because it isn't that depth.
Yes, but that merely makes the problem bigger.
So would you propose they eliminate that detail entirely?
I'm not offering any solutions right now.
Oh,
At this point, it's just an observation. So,
Yes, I'm just trying to make sure, because the problem we amateurs have as we look at these drawings is that we're not perhaps as capable as you are in fleshing it out in our mind and really understanding what it's going to look like in 3 dimensions. And my concern is that we not wind up with a building that, I don't know how to put this. It feels like an imitation of something that it isn't. And so that's,
for the sake of the historic districts.
yeah. Yeah, I really, you have been you are obviously motivated to make this work in a good way, and that has been gratifying. I'm just raising a caution sign in that as I look at this, it sort of steps out of that historic field because it's trying to be something that it isn't.
I hear what you're saying.
And I would echo that with the column designs as well, and the choice of materials for the columns. They, because it isn't wood, because if we look at the Second Empire design inspiration, there is quite ornate designs in the wood columns on that style, and it's just not coming through in the selected designs for the columns on the building either. It reads quite modern.
I guess I don't mind that modern column for that as much as maybe.
Including the materials?
Yeah,
It's not wood.
no, that doesn't bother me. I've kind of gotten over the whole wood, like,
Yeah, if you do a really fancy carved wood column, I mean, you're just gonna leave it, it doesn't have the longevity, it ends up.
no,
I don't care about the materials. I mean, well, I care about them. I'd love to have them, but it's
I
just.
think wood reads so differently than the
yeah, but I
synthetic
think this is
materials.
up on the second floor.
And you feel it on
It's
the fence,
not
you feel it in
really-
a lot of places, but you're not gonna win that battle.
Yeah, I mean, these aren't like glossy PVC looking columns. I mean, they're fiberglass, they'll have a texture when you paint them that looks like.
I suppose if I move to the historic district, like I have, I know that there is a tax on the historic quality of the home. And I believe that the onus is on the homeowner to maintain that historic quality. And luckily, we overall have folks that are doing that. So I do believe that, I know it's a losing battle because the world has evolved and these materials exist now, but it is notably different. It looks cheap to me.
This column here. Because you think this is too thin, it just doesn't, you're,
And the brochure that he passed around, it looks like, I don't know, like what's popping up in like South Florida right now, like all of these really fast construction developments with materials that are synthetic, that are built to last the weather down there. But is that what we're trying to do here in our little coastal town? I don't know.
I think we've had a lot of arguments about that coastal community issue and the weather and trying to be sympathetic to the availability of the materials being.
you know, it starts with, obviously, we're gonna approve soffits out of AZEC, obviously, because you couldn't tell the difference if you looked at it. So then as we move, just as you say, every time we move into another element that has real detail on it, we start to lose something. And I think you're right about that. But you're right about that.
I'm still drawing the line on a few things. I mean, siding, aluminum siding, we would never
Aluminum siding, yes, vinyl siding, we're not going there. Vinyl and aluminum, that's it.
Well, you know, 5 inch.
Historical because it's
Not a
old.
line in the sand.
Been around forever. I've got a question. So what is the height of this building? I'm just looking at this. You've got 3510, which is a little higher than the spec.
31 feet above
31
average.
feet? What am I looking at on, I don't know, the graphic, number 11?
So you're looking at from grade.
From grade,
Not the average grade, from grade,
not the what?
not the average grade where the
Okay.
height's taken, but overall building height from grade is the 35.
From,
So the average grade is
Front doorstep.
actually up from,
Okay, I don't know how one measures that. That is to say, just because that's the lowest point in the building, that's not where you're measuring from. You're measuring from average grade to the top of the building.
yes, when I tell you, yes,
Okay.
when I look at this dimension here
Yes,
is from the average grade,
which
which
is
is 31 feet, which is 4 feet below your max allowed height.
And where is it? Like at the planter on that side window or the back of the car? I don't know.
Yeah.
it's 35 feet above the sidewalk.
Yes,
Right, okay, I understand.
yeah, that on the shorter side, so as you work your way down Union, it's taller than 35.
Okay.
Oh, right.
But we did, yeah, I don't have the civil plan here, but Meridian did average grade count for us, was the data point to work.
I understand.
Just curious, what color do you think it's gonna be?
That we haven't got too deep into, but we're sort of leaning towards the black and white of cargo.
It's not in our purview.
No.
But we're always curious.
Do you consider the planter boxes permanent features?
I mean, they would be applied.
Not really. It's up to the tenant, right?
Yeah.
What's the height of the little wall?
Yeah, I think that's granite, you said? That wall?
Yeah, it's just gonna be a little 12-inch.
Granite.
Is it gonna be solid granite or veneer?
Gonna be solid,
So that's kind of like a curb,
double-sided, yeah. Just
except that it's defines the property line.
And then the arched gateway has spindle top, and these are wood panels below it?
Yeah, to allow a little privacy.
Is there a gate on it, or is it just an archway?
We didn't show a gate, but it's got a gate.
There's no door on that side?
There's a door, yeah.
From the side.
Yeah, so if you look at the east elevation, there's a door. I don't have the east elevation.
Oh, there is a door on that side.
There is a door, yeah.
But not on the other side. Oh, yeah, there is on the back, on the other side.
Yeah, there's full height windows there, so because it is retained, full height windows.
I'm sorry, what page is it?
Just looking, if you look here,
Yeah,
where you go through
yeah,
the arch, there's full height windows on that
Yep.
elevation plus a door.
okay. 2 windows, then the door.
I don't want to hyper focus on it, but we do have hearings just for gates and fences alone. And so the lack of detail is interesting, and I would be curious for more detail on that. How tall is that fenced area, and how tall is that arch?
I don't have the details on me at the moment.
And the fence 6?
Yes.
All right, anybody on Zoom want to make any comments or questions?
Rosemary.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
Can you?
I love the perspectives. Mass Gen says
Yes.
17 Mass
Thank
Gen.
you.
The perspectives are great. They really kind of show, I think, what people were lacking last time, being able to see it as you come out the street. But the west elevation, you're saying you're going to use thin brick veneer. What kind of brick is it going to be? Real, I assume it's real brick, veneered and then
Yes.
hand mortared, so look like.
Yes.
And is it water struck? What are you?
Yeah, we
Are
were,
you specing the brick yet? Or?
we don't have the exact specs, but I showed a picture of what we were anticipating. Basically, trying to take exactly mimic what is
Okay.
currently there.
So you're
For that
trying
water
to
struck.
recreate like the water struck brick that's there now?
Yeah.
Perfect. Is that so the brick wall that'll be exposed on Gladstone, that'll be, are you gonna sandblast the brick? What have you discovered there that's gonna be seen now?
Actually, it's in pretty good shape. I mean, from the few pieces we've ripped off, so it'll look just like what you see now when you drive up.
Is it fired brick for exterior, or will it be interior brick that, or you're not worried about that over time? We don't know. Okay. What Richard said is, I like the facade, everything you're doing, but the thing that jumps out at me also are dentils versus brackets, which were shown in the original building, right? So, have that as 3/4, just little applied. I think you gotta look at that a little closer and see if you can come up something that has a little more depth and gonna give shadow lines, which you kind of indicate here. That I think these aren't, they bother me, right? So maybe something to consider. The other thing is, you're showing aluminum gutters. I don't see downspout. And that concerns me, like, are the downspouts, where are they gonna be located? Are they gonna be bolted onto your columns on the outside corners?
Inside.
So the inside corners are, and what kind of aluminum downspout? Here you're showing a profile other than just your standard, and the profile you're showing, is that a standard extruded aluminum downspout? Is that what you're,
K-shape, yeah.
in the depth then? Or are you
Showing it's a 4-inch.
just a 4-inch? Well, those are, I think that's my questions.
Could I follow that up a little bit? Because I'm still a little confused about how you would even put brackets in with the lack of overhang that you have. And that seems to me a more serious problem.
There's like a 6-inch overhang on the first one, correct?
Yeah,
So you could, in theory, go up to 4 or 5 inches of depth with what's currently designed.
But as we get to the balconies, what do we have?
It should be the similar.
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
That's what I couldn't read from here.
Thing is, they're not brackets.
I know they're not brackets, I mean dentals. But yeah.
We've moved on to brackets.
I keep hearing brackets, so I'm getting, brackets.
So that, I guess, is something I didn't understand on this section on 11. So as I look at the mansard, oh, I see.
Yeah, so when you're up at the half story,
Yeah,
that
Yeah.
frieze board is a continuation around the mansard roof, but at the projected bay, broken.
so you have 6 inches all around. The soffit is 6 inches.
Roughly.
I did want to ask something about the brick, because in the picture you saw showed it was, maybe this was just, you showed this mixed brick color,
It's black.
but it won't be that, will it? Why does that make any sense? I don't understand why that would be. I mean, nobody built brick walls like that. That was always struck to me as as a sort of suburban antiquing. Well, you were trying to match the.
Yeah, trying to match what's existing there now.
Well, kind of got me there.
That was the intent.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I still hate it.
It's weathered.
No, it's not. It's not weathered. It's rubble. I mean, it's picking up bricks from used bricks. Isn't that the only reason it was ever done that way? It's not a design. It wasn't a design decision. It was just.
Well, sometimes if you look at water-struck bricks that are kiln fired locally, you will get different colors depending on where in the kiln they're fired. So you'll get
This much variation. No.
You know, it would be nice to know what samples they're in, but it's not uncommon to get a variation.
Maybe you could just reuse the bricks.
But you wouldn't expect to see. But you wouldn't expect to see the principal wall on a new building constructed that way.
Well, that was my concern, because if they did it like a new building, it's gonna look new. You know, if they use veneer brick, that it might look like it was there a while.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It might even be concrete.
So are these veneer bricks, or are they, you're using the bricks from the wall?
No, these are veneer.
No, these are new, yeah, we're not.
Yeah,
It's 1-inch brick slices, basically.
right, okay.
Get mortar.
Mortared against the foundation.
Yvonne, you've been quiet.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Second Empire design, and I think that, you know, they have so much detail, and even though I do like the design that's proposed, I do think that it needs more of that detailing, and maybe, I don't know, possibly replacing some of the fiberglass columns with maybe wood, and adding in some more detail. I don't know if that's even an option, but just to bring it more in line with this kind of Second Empire design. I think if you have certain areas that would pop out with those details, it would maybe look more in keeping with the time period we're trying to indicate.
I was also along that same vein, I was wondering if you could speak to the 6 lights and the fixtures on the front of the building. Are those, at least the sketch here, it looks modern. Are you thinking that you would have period lighting there, or is that true to what you're proposing? A sort of a modern,
Yeah, for us, it was more like retail type lighting that you would see.
including on the second floor?
Yeah, we're just carrying those through, so sort of illuminate down if there's a business name or a number, building number.
So the proposal is for 2 townhomes. I know that it could potentially be an office, but they're not technically retail spaces. Would you consider more period light fixtures?
Sure.
That's good. That's good.
Joe, anything?
No, I like to comment on the period light fixtures to bring to his historic district area that feel. So I would agree with that.
So, am I right in thinking, as I'm looking on page 9, and thank you for doing this to give us a sense of what that curve is like. It feels to me like what this is going to feel like is 2 houses joined as you walk by. That's the sense you're getting. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, 2 townhomes, yeah, joint together.
Yeah, I think that's, I don't have any problem with that.
What's the front length? Corner to corner.
Curvature.
What's the depth of the bays?
Don't have that exact number. Get it for you. Yeah, I forgot to mention, we did shrink the depth of the base so that we actually plan the building for our conversation last time. Based on reading the zoning bylaws, it seems that the base not be.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
Oh,
quite
the
hear you.
bays can't be setback?
You know, it's occupied, it's pretty specific about what's allowed to project
Ah.
into the setback.
So you had to bring the front of the setback to 5 feet?
Yeah, we did talk
Oh,
to the
the
building
dormers.
inspector as well, to confirm that, so.
And
Okay.
so what is the depth now of the dormer?
Of
The depth from the face of the building to the face of the dormer. How deep is that dormer?
which,
I'm sorry, the bay. I say dormer, I meant bay.
so you're talking about the depth of this bay here,
Yeah,
about 4 feet.
4 feet.
This is set back slightly on the half story, so like if you're looking from what we call the office face here to that front, it's about 3 feet. And it steps back about 1 feet, so when you're up there, you have about 4 feet of space.
Oh, I see. 4 feet on the top.
Yeah.
And 3 feet, about 3 feet on the bottom. And that's in scale to what we're looking at here.
Yeah.
And did I understand you to say that the setback is to the face of the bay?
Face of the bay.
So the base here is like 8 feet back from the sidewalk? From
Yeah.
Foundation?
To the foundation.
Foundation is 8?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
It's 8 or 10, I thought the setback was 10.
On the right and left, the front is 5.
5 in the general.
Oh, okay. On the right and left, it's 5.
No, 10 here.
Oh, 10 on the sides, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
But the front is 5, okay.
Yeah, so on the, left and right side is 10. And front setback's 5.
I'm looking at page 5 says that.
Yeah.
Any other comments? All right, what do we want to do?
I think there are holes on dental work, lights, and gate. Is that correct?
Maybe columns as well?
And columns, maybe?
So are we continuing? Or are we, okay. And what would be our request specifically?
Well, I think that's what that
Yeah.
it seemed like a good question. From my point of view,
Yes.
my request would be to see if we can come up with a way of making, of turning these dentals into brackets, giving us some shadow up there, giving us some sense of depth, and bringing it a little more into tune with what we would expect from that style building, as far as the dentals go.
Okay, I would second that, and I am open to it being something simple like this one you have pictured on the far left, that's just a very plain kind of curve.
Yeah, absolutely.
What page?
But
On page 10,
Yeah.
it's got to be thick too.
yeah.
And I think the comment
Yes.
about light fixtures is very little lights are so, we've got modern light fixtures on old buildings down there, is the fact. But it's sad to start that way, and I've got to hope that there's some way of getting I mean, I know you're after downlighting. You don't want to have, you want to have a quiet, downlit area there that's contained. And I'm hoping you can find something that is a little more period friendly. That would be a concern. I have some concerns about the roof, but I don't know how far they go. I can't tell what the size of the shingles is, and I don't really know how much they look like slate and how much they just scream out, I'm an asphalt shingle pretending to be a slate. I can't tell.
This is the shingle. Yeah.
Where did that
You don't have, you can't tell the size of it, it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
They look small.
This is
Oh, is that
a
on the
house
left?
that has it currently?
That's the shingle that
Oh,
they're
this is from
proposing.
their advertisement?
Yeah, I just looked it up, so that's what it looks like.
Oh,
Yeah, that doesn't look bad to me.
No.
Oh, you got a photo there
Keeping.
too. Yeah.
In what color?
slate gray. I assume.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so you're now good with the, okay. Joe?
I'd like to continue the hearing for next week, whatever, to bring up what Allison brought up, and Richard has also stated, the light fixtures to be more in keeping with fixtures that are amenable to the historic district.
Okay. Okay, and then the column, what do we want?
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
I think the concern in the end is not what they're made out of, but what they look like. And the other concern is that because of what they look like, because of what they're made of, they're not going to look like what we want them to look like.
okay.
So the more detail we can get, and maybe a scaled up drawing of that detail around the top of the column so we can see the proportions a little more clearly, because right now when we look at it in this scale, it's a little hard to see what that truly looks like.
I think on
That
the other
column is pretty
column,
prominent.
you've got very ornate columns, and these are very, very
What
simple.
about, wait, on page 12,
Are you talking about the two main columns on where the porches are and then
Yeah,
the second?
Yeah, they're very prominent in the building, in the look of the building. And what I'm worried about, as you pointed out, is it's just how that detail renders out when you look at it and whether it looks, there's several problems to me on these things. One is that everything gets rounded, there's never any sharp edges. You don't have the detail and the shadow lines that you get from wood. Just can't. But also, I'd like to know exactly what that detail looks like. Maybe you could show us. These are stock pieces, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
in that brochure, there was one of them.
This is the one we're proposing.
This one here?
This one right here.
They have got some more on it.
See that?
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay, so that's exactly it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Can you blow it up?
So that's different than what you're showing on your perspective view, because you're showing
Yeah, those were,
basically a base with a shorter column on top. But this is
Well,
what you're,
yes, that's not, if you look at the detail, that's what's
Sure.
represented. That's,
They just seem a little too modern for the historic district.
Hmm.
To me, seems something that would.
But smooth versus fluted?
if you look at Second Empire Revival column details, you find a lot of Chamfer columns that look very similar to this.
Yeah, the chamfer's probably a good idea, especially since those edges are not really sharp.
Well, I don't think you're gonna get that sort of ornate top capital that we see, again, back in the picture that you've shared. You know, they're much more carved and flourishy than works in this. I guess I'm thinking of this as being a contemporary take on Second Empire, because it is. And so we're not trying to replicate Second Empire exactly, I don't think. We'd like to have the historic references be a little closer in some of the details, but I don't think we can really ask for replication because it is not a replica.
Well, we've accepted that, I think, because we're looking at lots of elements of this design that are obviously modern, obviously. But I think I'm less concerned about the columns than some others are, but I understand their concerns. I'm very concerned about the dentils and the shadow line across the top. I'd like to see if there's something more that can be done with the columns. That'd be great. Maybe there is.
Are we at the point where we're down? I mean, it sounds to me like we're down to about, I mean, the items that I've got are the dentils. Your comment of one is the downspouts, which the detail on the fence, and lighting fixtures. Because I think what these details are all details that I think you guys are more than amenable to sort of working with. But they can, I mean, construction, you're looking at renderings and sort of sketch, but not full construction documents. And I'm wondering if, like the last applicant, we could have an approval that would be subject to conditions where we could bring back these finer details and make it work together to get it to be actually more exact, like you're looking for. Because it sounds, I mean, these things all crystal things to the architecture.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the dentils, and I think we need a stronger shadow line there than what is proposed on the section.
Well, I don't know. My feeling is that we can, I'd rather not, because I don't know how the conditions would read. I mean, it's not going to help you for us to give you a conditional approval as long as we like what you showed to us. I mean, that's nothing.
Well, I guess with our I don't think we feel very concerned that we're not going to reach a happy place on all these details, that it just may take time to get there. You know, we're already pretty far along outside of the time frame that we typically would follow. Granted, this is an important project. Everybody wants to get it right. So I'm just trying to, it does sound like we're down to like these 4 or 5 items.
I think we
which
could
is
do
a
two
long way
things.
from where we've.
We can do one, we could issue a certificate of appropriateness for demolition. That's the first thing. We could do that today. We could continue another 2 weeks, or do you want to, I mean, we're not in a rush, right? You're not, are you in a rush?
I don't think there's a terrible rush, but I think.
If you were
it's
going to do
obviously
demo in the winter, off-season, we can continue to the July meeting if you want.
And that sounds like it's kind of, it's a little, that'll be far off, I think.
Yeah,
for just these 4 or 5.
What timeline works for you?
Yeah, I mean, next week does not work. But 26th.
The 26th.
You know, this is such an important building in our little district.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like probably 5% of the whole district.
We're 100%, we agree.
And-
I think, I mean, look, we had one design that we shared, that the design's been changed, entirely, to recognize some of the concerns that have been raised. It's great, we're down to these architects, this is where we always wanted to be.
So I hope we can, what I would hope we can do is give our approval to the final drawings, but not hold you up. That would be my hope.
Yeah.
Well, I'm okay with approval of the final drawings with these 5 or 6 to-do items, because you need to provide us a little bit more detail here. And there are a million little details in this thing, and you can't show up with all of these details and show them all to us, and furthermore, it's overload for us. And if we can just focus on those half a dozen items, and those items, it doesn't make any difference to you whether they're settled now or in 6 months or in 3 months. This is all
Right, well, that was my point about a conditional
stuff that's
approval.
down the road for
Right.
you.
It might take some time to figure
I
out.
mean, we do have to design, we have to push this past,
No, but the questions we're asking are the building is not dependent on how those exactly look. But we have concerns about them,
Yeah, no,
and they can be settled at some point.
And I'm just not sure what it buys us to approve something that we haven't seen. I mean, you have we certainly are okay with the direction that you're taking in general. And what difference does it make that we wait to do the final approval?
If it doesn't make any difference to you for another month,
But I think where they need to start getting going to sort of plan, start the, planning, financing, get everybody lined
Materials
up.
aren't getting
motor-
cheaper.
Yeah, just the lead time, so we know that it's in place, because all these details are very, I think it might be better not to sort of rush to try to finalize, fine column details, fine fence details, to come back here in a week or two, and it would be better to say, okay, it's approved, but you have these 5 items that we need to come back to you for, and then as soon as you can, have the time to really nail down the design, have it be perfect, come back, knock down those 5 items, and
Well, I understand that, but honestly, can I tell you, my concern is that once these projects get rolling and materials get ordered, we get put in a position where things have already been bought, it's now a hardship to change, and we get locked into something. And in fact, that just happened to us.
not a lot for me here.
So my concern is that we can maybe vote and give you a sense of the general direction of the committee. This would be what I suggest, but that we move as fast as we can as a commission to meet whatever you've come up with in the design, so that we don't hold up the final design process. That's my suggestion.
What do you want to do?
I mean, we want the board to feel comfortable with what you feel. I mean, we feel like we've got a new to redesign building that's all but done, but for like 5 items. If we want to keep pushing forward to get those done and be 100%, I think we're happy to work with you. Or if you want to say, okay, we're comfortable giving you a certificate of appropriateness subject to you coming back to us for approval of these 5 items, then we'd be happy with that too. So I think we'd be equally happy, but if we're gonna try to get to 100%, I think we'd like to get back as soon as we can and finish it off.
I think we'd prefer to get 100%
Okay.
as quickly as possible. As quickly as you're comfortable
Yeah.
providing that to us.
Gonna get a lot in a week here.
Come
yeah.
a long way.
Can't be a week this week.
Right.
2 weeks for me isn't great. I could do the 25th
25th of
June.
June, okay.
We're out of town. So I won't be back till the 26th, so.
About 27th? We could maybe, Gail, do you have the calendar?
27th
See
is
you raising your
Friday.
hand.
I have my hand up because I don't know who the gentleman sitting at the end of the table who spoke.
Oh, sorry, Adam Zager.
Thank you for identifying yourself.
So in terms of the calendar, the town hall is closed on Fridays, so we can't do Friday. Right, Gail?
That's correct.
Okay. I'd like to be there on the 26th, but I already have plans for that day. And on the following week,
July 4th. It's
June 26th is not a good day for the
No,
town.
it's not a good day for the town.
June 26th? Okay. All right, what about Wednesday, the July 2nd?
I'm likely out. So,
Yeah.
Joe, could you do July 2nd?
Richard? Okay, John, yes?
Yep.
Okay, so let's say Wednesday, July 2nd. And the items were the dental bracket thing, the fence,
Columns,
what
Yeah.
do we want on the columns?
I feel like they need some more detailing to I just feel like at the moment they're just feeling too modern.
Some more, some options?
Some options, yeah. I think there are some options in, I think one of the things that got passed down here, one of the old are different types of things with a bit more detail on. So maybe some more
Mhm.
options.
Do you like any of those options?
I mean, the middle one to me suggests more of the empire, the Second Empire designs that you have in the pictures on page 10.
Which one in the brochure?
This middle one. I don't know if that would be the perfect one. I'd have to see it on the drawing.
Okay. Column options. What was the
Are these
lighting?
columns straight or tapered? I can't really tell from the,
They're straight.
they're straight,
Chamfered.
and they're not fluted, they're just straight smooth.
They have
The chamfered.
a chamfered edge.
And they don't sit on a block, right? They just go straight.
No, they've got a little
It's
case.
got a
around
molding,
which is probably just beveled, right?
Yeah, they have a little bend.
No, but I mean, in the drawing, they're sitting on a block.
Oh,
Yeah, the rendering doesn't have.
oh, yes.
And then you've got all these different designs here.
In the different
yes,
iterations.
there are lots of
it's a
different
little
molding
Yeah, yeah.
Like from
arrangements
different
that you can
views.
have there, and I,
So maybe just more detail on.
Yeah,
That is,
just more
that is
detail,
a
more
really
options.
interesting point.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of the reference.
They just have a skinny thing going on.
I mean, these are fairly,
This is very large.
If you guys want to pick a column now, we're happy to have you.
You know what, interesting stuff.
But are you married to that brochure?
It is something more elaborate here. Very top.
yes, that's very, Greek.
That's very Greek, isn't it? Greek.
And the gate and
That's
fence
maybe
and
not working.
arch, if y'all could just provide details as to what that would look like in action.
Traditional Second Empire
Fence,
building.
gate, arch.
Is there a gate that's been?
Well, for Empire.
Yeah,
I was looking at,
Style,
Like trellis,
which is-
pickets,
you see the picture here,
there's a ton.
which is
If
kind
you
of
just
like,
drive
design.
Yeah, it might be.
Aesthetic detail.
I don't know which address that
As
is.
long as it matches sort of Victorian Second Empire style.
Like an East Lake
Yeah.
style.
You ever, Jim, this is like, maybe a super question, just email you like the specs? And do you ever do it over email? Is it always like
We
public?
have to, for the public meeting law.
Oh, okay.
We can't
Deliberate
discuss it
in
amongst
public.
ourselves without being in a public meeting.
Yeah.
Or they put us in jail.
They do.
So is that 10 by 10, just as a whole, is that 10 by 10 column that we're looking at? When we look at the scale of the elevation, where it shows a column that is thicker at the base than it is at the top. I'm just curious about what the scale is here, because it's a little hard to see. That's a massive, it's kind of a big column. 10 inches.
Yeah, that's the scale that you're looking at.
So on
Which
page
one, the bottom or
12,
the top?
Page 12 is the
The
corner.
corner, this corner column, yeah, right there. That's a 10 by 10, well,
Yeah, but I'm trying to put it in proportion to the building, looking at it in the proportion of the building.
What's the floor to ceiling height from 2 to 3? Yeah. Yeah, like what's the
Yeah.
height of that column to the corner? Oh, nice.
I'm expecting it's the top portion of it.
I'm not, I'm
Do you
expecting
think
it's
it's
the
the lower
bottom.
part?
Because 10 inches is that's a big column. I don't know.
Is it solid fiberglass or has it got something, is it wrapping around?
yeah, so the pressure treated structural posts. These wrap around. It's like chamfered on the inside
Okay.
and they marry together. They get adhered together.
So it's a bearing post?
Wonder,
Looks like
it's
it
a
must be.
wrap around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steel inside.
It'd probably be like 6 by 6 or 8 by 8 pressure treated.
Oh. I see.
And these wrap around and have a little detail.
That's why it's,
Which one was the one that you liked? Where did that go?
They're all here. there are several. And then there's this one, and then there's all the caps at the top on this page. I'll pass this around. So there's
Put a star next to the ones that you like.
You wanna do that now?
Okay.
And then we'll see how many stars we get as they go around.
Yeah, the rendering on 12, the molding at the top was just kind of a throwaway, I assume.
Rendering on 12?
On page 12, the rendering at the top of the column was just kind of a standard. The purpose of that was really for the column itself, not for the molding at the top.
Because that's not the molding on
Because
the
that's just,
columns.
that's a very basic.
Yeah, the one that we're proposing is this column.
That's the one on 12 though, isn't it?
That's the one on 12,
You don't like that?
no.
Okay.
I think should be something a little more
I mean, from this, I think
ornate.
that's probably the only thing that comes. The rest is a
Wow,
bit
what is
too
that?
more. I mean, it doesn't look exactly like this, but it's
Yeah.
closer to it than, I think these are just too elaborate and too more,
It's a little.
yeah, too much. That might work.
Yeah, and Temple of the Winds might work.
Yeah,
All right, we got stars over here.
we got stars, we're making progress.
That's good, Joe. See which he's put stars next to.
We've on an iron agreement.
Okay.
The town doesn't like it, they're gonna sue us.
No go regarding the composite. I do have a question, or well, just an idea. So take it or leave it, I really don't care. But if y'all are going to have granite, like that little wall, I have seen quite a few Second Empire homes and Victorian homes that embrace iron and gating. And so I am wondering if y'all would explore those materials in the gate or any of that. It could be interesting. Like bringing the granite through maybe a wall and using iron.
Yeah.
Could be, I think it could lend itself to this design. The wood is also lovely.
I picked either one.
Yeah, we do have even though it's not in keeping with the era, iron on granite in 48 Central. I think. Their little yard in the front.
Is that the one, and what's the one that's right on where Pine hits Bridge in Central?
Next 2 doors down from them, 50 Central, 50 Bridge, or 50, is it 50 Central or
48, 48 does have it.
I'm not starting.
So 50 is like right at Pine, and that has a decorative iron
Oh, no, I'm good.
railing.
I got my computer.
All right, so can we have a motion at least to approve a certificate of appropriateness for demolition?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Yvonne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Joe? Richard?
Yes.
Yes.
Allison and I. Okay, so we can do a certificate of approval, certificate of appropriateness for demolition. The abutters get the 10-day notice. This is a public hearing, so they should have made their public comments by now, but they still get a chance to make some more comments. And then you will get that demolition permit, or you can apply for the demolition. We will, we will meet on July 2nd, Wednesday, July 2nd. Let's say it's 6 p.m. again. Gail, is that, I see your hand is raised. Gail?
While you were talking about columns, I went through the discussion to look at what I had question marks next to.
Yep.
And in addition to the dentals and the columns, it's fence and gate,
Yep.
downspouts, and I'm not 100% sure you resolved brick and the lights.
I think we accepted the brick, yes?
Yeah, lights are still up.
Lights are
Correct.
still, we'd like to see the, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items. And do you know, Gail, if we can do July 2nd at 6 PM?
I do not know. I will have to check with town clerk. I will do that. What's today? Tuesday? I will do that first thing tomorrow. Well, today's Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah,
I can't do it until Monday.
okay.
I
But
will
it's far enough
confirm.
out that if we had to move to room 7, we could.
Yep, we can do that.
Okay. And so for Gail, for the purposes of public hearing versus public meeting, can we close the public hearing for deliberations, or do we still need to get input as they present new elements?
Your public hearing isn't closed until you have all the information you need, until
Okay.
you're satisfied.
Okay, so we're continuing the public hearing to
Correct.
July 2nd at 6 PM. And looking for those details on those 5 items. And do I need to, yes, go ahead.
Last set of questions. Well,
Go ahead.
well, I'm just curious about the downspouts, what the,
Yeah, what do we want to know about the downspouts? Where they are specifically and what they look like?
they can change when we actually have our civil engineer design where we're gonna tie them into. So I'm just curious, like, what they look like, where they're located.
Yeah, where are they?
Okay. Yes, where they are and what they look like.
I get his point, though, is that if the civil engineer can move them depending
Yep.
upon a final site design, so you don't necessarily.
I guess we'd like to know what they look like. So was there a detail in here? of
I
the-
did not, no, I just know
Okay.
what they look like.
Okay. And I think painted aluminum, is that what they're gonna be?
That's, yeah, that's what I
Okay.
did, actual cut sheets.
Okay. So was there anything else? Do you have anything else?
So the-
Yeah, 5 items, the dentals, fence detail, lights, columns, which maybe we have a solution tonight. Downspouts.
I guess I must have been sleeping when you were talking about the downspouts. It really is a little confusing. Do they run around the top above the mansard as well as below? Are there 2 levels of gutters?
No, it would just be below, showed them at
Does it drip off the roof? It doesn't drip off the roof onto the mansard, does it?
well, they come down the mansard roof and be caught at the,
So it's a flat roof with a drip edge around it before you hit the mansard.
correct.
I see. And the flat roof is drained.
Well, I mean, flat, but it's tapered to the edges, water would
Yeah.
come down the mansard sides, and then the gutter would wrap around.
So, but the gutter is not shown on the, on page 11, is it?
Yeah, that's why we have to
Yeah.
hit the gutter on the details. Specification.
Okay. But I understand your engineer can put the downspout.
Yeah,
Really, at any
depending on
point.
where our Coltech system is and where we have to tie in, sometimes it dictate where the downspouts come and drainage. It's a very tight site, so I just caution
Yeah,
that things may change. We'll try to mitigate water and runoff. That's my only concern.
Yeah, where are you gonna put all that water?
yeah, it's got to be underneath somewhere.
Literally 5 feet.
Are they gonna make you have a containment, do you think?
Yeah,
Are you gonna-
I'll say, yeah.
Oh, so it won't drain into one of the sewers.
I mean, again, we have to get into the engineer.
Okay.
very early.
You know,
Although, right now, it's just running off the roof to
Right now,
wherever
we
it
collected
goes.
the basement.
there's got to be drainage off,
Yeah, they have that.
there's got to be drainage off of Central
Yeah.
Union Street.
I have a question, Rosemary.
Yes.
To Adam's point, I guess I'm curious from y'all, when would be the ideal time to have approval from HGC? Is it next time we meet?
5 minutes ago.
5 minutes ago, thank you, Adam.
We already knew the
As
answer
soon
to
as
that.
possible.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that lets the project proceed, everyone knows it's happening, we can plan, you can start to mobilize, reserve subcontract, I mean, you can,
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of design and engineer, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, this is just very early schematics.
Sure.
So to get approval would allow us time to then develop all the other pieces to actually.
I guess I just worry that we're going to have more questions next time that we come. So Rosemary, the group, like, could y'all provide it to us like well in advance? And is there a way that we can see the materials?
It would be
Before
very helpful if we
July
could get them even a
2nd.
few days before the meeting.
Yeah.
Send them to Rosemary and could
How
distribute
about
them.
the,
That would-
much more time
Monday.
this.
Yeah, I
this
mean,
time around.
yeah, if we didn't have just a week, I probably could have done that.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, no, I
Working
understand.
all day.
Yeah.
I completely understand.
Yeah, no, yeah. There
You
is
did-
no judgment
this was
there.
great.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
But given that we have this time, I'm just suggesting that it
Yeah.
might be great, it would be
Yeah,
very
definitely,
helpful.
that would be helpful for us too.
Even if it were a few days, even for only a few days.
okay, so if we meet Wednesday, can it be by Monday?
Yeah.
And
The
then
30th.
one more, sorry, what was that, John?
Monday, the 30th, as you're talking, yeah.
I guess I don't know if this is allowed under the public hearing law, but like if we were to see it and say like, oh, there isn't as much detail as we need, like would we be able to ask for that prior?
Mm,
Or you could,
I mean,
you could contact
contact
Rosemary.
me.
And
Okay,
Rosemary could.
I don't know, I guess I could.
okay.
It's possible, but the time is pretty compressed.
Yeah.
I mean, that dialogue is quite doable.
All right, so the votes on these column capitals,
I didn't vote.
I'm not loving any of these myself. They're a little too ornate.
Let me put it this way, I didn't like any one of them. I just like some of them more than this one.
Yeah, I think they're too ornate, these decorative ones.
I think it would be informative to look at what's on the 2 mansards in town
Yes.
for columns. That might be intuitive or instructive.
Right, maybe after this
My
one.
first sense is that when you look at that column, the difference between the size of the column and the detail is what's, it's that discrepancy. You've got these little fine lines,
Well, yeah,
this minimized detail and this
it's a
big fat
1-to-8
column.
ratio, which, I mean, columns have to keep these certain ratios, but Second Empire homes tend to be more slender because they're more like a
Stick stuff.
stick stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you have some of those in here,
This is a big column.
so that wouldn't, this kind of like
Plastic column.
railing is
Big
gonna be
fat
too
plastic
narrow.
But it's also,
Or structure.
visually, it's holding up a
This,
big roof, right? You know, so.
this is
So, okay, can you get another book that might show some renderings to be similar to
another book.
whatever, brochure?
Get the
So show some of the renderings
Well, I
from the
mean, there
Second
is a
Empire
10-inch
design that we
post
see
here.
here from these.
This one is a 10-inch. Is this one structurally strong enough?
Well, none of those are like structural, they're just.
Decorative. But with a round, that's not gonna go around just,
Well, they do make round, but they're 2 pieces.
I mean, this, to me,
I just
is
think round
more
would-
like
Yeah, I don't
The-
think round is architecturally appropriate.
style. If you look at Second Empire stick style, you're getting a little more turned wood.
Well, I don't know that I can really put it in context because I can't think of, this detail, this balcony detail isn't really something I can place in my mind. answer.
All right, I don't know about that.
Should I just throw this in the trash?
We'd like to see others.
More ideas, yeah.
Others.
Yeah.
Okay, so should we adjourn? Is there anything else we need to do? Since I didn't call for an adjournment the last time, I need to call for an adjournment with
Okay,
a continuation to July
I
2nd.
move we adjourn with a continuation to July 2nd.
Okay.
Second.
Is that what I need to do, Gail?
Sounds good.
Okay,
Okay,
all in favor?
yes.
Okay, all unanimous. Thank you, Gail.
I like these renderings. You guys did very good work.
Yeah.